criminal case, the jury summons, the people that show up with the jury summons in their hand, about 70 to 75% of those people answer the question, well, or is the person guilty or not guilty? They haven't even walked into the courthouse. Guilty, 3/4 of the people. Except on DWI, Alex, 88%. It's unbelievable. Monday, and I do this in every jury trial for the most part, I raise my hand, I'll nod my head, and I'll say, drink, drive, go to, and everybody says, go to jail. I say, now that's the law. Y'all understand that, don't y'all? Monday, 29 people shook their heads. In Austin, the last trial I did, 24 out of 25 shook their heads. And then I'll repeat it. I'll say, I mean, y'all do know that is the law. If you drink and drive, you go to jail. And they almost all agree. And then I tell them that is a government lie. It is not true. How am I supposed to get a jury that will do their job properly on Johnny here if you've all been brainwashed?
When the government uses our money to put billboards up and run ads everywhere lying, where they think if you drink a thimble, you're a criminal, when it's not true. It is driving impaired. It is the reckless driving clause coming in, but they've twisted the whole thing, correct?
That's right. You come in there into the courtroom as a defense attorney, and you are fighting an uphill battle from the very start. It's an incredible challenge. I love it, but it's frustrating when the jury goes out to deliberate and everyone in that courtroom, judge, bailiff, officers, and prosecutors know that we won this case, and the jury will come out in 3 hours with a guilty verdict because they cannot get over years of indoctrination in a 1 or 2 or 3 day trial. They just can't get there sometimes. Alex, Monday, I do this as well. I'll say, if you do not find that the government proved the case beyond all reasonable doubt, what must you say, guilty or not guilty? And the answer, of course, is not guilty. I'll have jurors in the panel who cannot say the words not guilty. They'll go, well, I'll do the right thing. I said, no, you have to say guilty or not guilty. Well, you know, we'll consider all the evidence. I go, no, let's say you believe Johnny is innocent. What will you say? And they cannot say not guilty.
Well, what about the issue that it's better than 10 guilty men go free than 1 innocent man go to jail? We've got to protect our rights of due process. We're going to live in North Korea. That's not taught in school, but you have to explain it to them. Do you understand you've got to judge the facts as well as the law? And if they have violated the Constitution and the procedures, then you've got to let him go, even if he'd had 2 bottles of whiskey. Do you understand that? I mean, are you able to explain that to these people?
In Del Rio, they let me have an hour and a half in my voir dire, and I addressed that issue you're just talking about. In Austin, they give you 20 minutes. And on a breath test case, you can barely even explain the machine's fallacies in that much time. It's incredible the way that our citizens are being manipulated. Their rights are being crushed. I went to a courtroom in San Antonio yesterday, and they said, oh, as soon as this hearing starts, everyone must clear the courtroom, including lawyers, because they're exposing a breath test technical supervisor down who has been fudging the data and getting people convicted wrongfully. And I told the bailiff, I said, if the judge comes out here and orders me out of the courtroom, I guess I'm going to jail because I will be held.
Exactly. That's totally criminal. But here's what's amazing. We've got to get you in studio for like 2 hours because this isn't just about DWIs. It ties into literally everything. It ties into every other place they're running over things, but they systematically know what they're doing, just shredding the Bill of Rights, shredding the Constitution, not wanting people to have access to juries.
Started with the war on drugs in a great way, and they have been just hammering us since. To think that we could take 60% of the drug cartel's money away overnight, we could get a regulation of marijuana, which marijuana can be found and bought anywhere in this country. We can regulate it. We can, just like alcohol, 21 and over. We can tax it. We can pour some of that money into rehab in case someone believes they have an addictive problem with marijuana. Instead, we use it to keep a stranglehold on youth and to terrify people, Alex. Whether you agree with the use of marijuana or not, people who don't use it but think it ought to be legalized are terrified to say that. They'll be fired. They'll be harassed. They'll think they'll be put on the government list. It's really terrifying the way that our government is abusing us. And if someone would have, I'd love to tell the Democrats, Barack Obama has set back the medicinal marijuana program 20 years. George Bush was better for medicinal marijuana, which is saving lives and killing cancer. And Barack Obama is closing down the distribution points and throwing people in prison.
Well said. Again, go through. We've only got a few minutes left here.
Okay.
Go through, Jamie, what the DWIDude.com covers, just the basics of what people should do or what you would do, because I know each case is different. But hypothetically, if you had 3 beers, you don't even have what they call a buzz. You're driving home, some teenager's texting, almost killing 20 people. That's no big deal. You're driving home, 8 o'clock at night, lights go on, and they're just out there randomly pulling people over coming out of a bar. No due process, no excuse, no reason, no probable cause. What do you do when the officer walks over? I mean, my big thing is just give them the license and stuff and don't answer questions. What do you do?
It's not his business where I've been. It's not his business what I've been doing. It's not his business where I'm going. I don't have to answer those questions. I provide my valid insurance, my valid driver's license, and then I'm going to roll the window back up. If he wants to talk, I'll crack it a half an inch. I don't drink, Alex. Could you imagine if they caught me with 1 beer on my breath? They'd have the news team down at the jail when I got there. But you don't want to be ugly. You don't want to use profanity. Hopefully you're being videotaped, so everything that's happening will be shown to a judge and a jury. So be on your best behavior. But they're going to ask you to get out of the car if they smell any alcohol. It's such a joke about red eyes in Austin, Texas, or anywhere that I practice. All of my jurors have red eyes. The 1 or 2 that don't used Visine this morning, probably because they smoked some weed. But
I was about to say, I get red eyes from allergies and stuff during allergy season.
Everyone. Just look.
I don't get red eyes when I drink, by the way. I don't even know what this red eye thing means. That sounds pretty stupid.
It's from fatigue or being in a smoky bar, and there aren't any smoky bars anymore. So I think it's just from, you've been up so many hours, your eyes get tired. They are trained to ask you questions that will divide your attention. They'll say, "Can I see your license, please?" Now, while you're reaching for your driver's license, they go, "Where are you coming from?" Now, my daddy taught me to respect the police and answer their questions in a polite manner. So I stop what I'm doing with my driver's license and I look up and I start answering his question. His police report will say, "Subject couldn't concentrate on answering my question and getting driver's license at the same time. He had to stop what he was doing physically in order to try to respond through his befuddled and intoxicated mind." That's what we're seeing on these reports. I drive a Corvette. When he got out of the vehicle, he had to use the door to get up. Well, I weigh 240 pounds and I'm 55 years old. I ought to have a rope to crawl up out of to get out of that Corvette. Thing that they see, the red eyes is not allergies, it's intoxication. The odor of alcohol in your breath. Have you been drinking, Alex? Yeah, I had a glass of wine with some spaghetti over at Carrabba's. It was terrific. Oh, he admitted that he was drinking, and I could smell the odor of an alcoholic beverage. Now I want to give him the portable breath test to see whether or not he has alcohol in his breath. Well, I told you I did. I drank. You smelled it. Why do you need the little breath device, the one they can't introduce for a number in court? But I'll tell you what.
Well, that's another thing. You want to tell the truth and go, "Yeah, I was at cookout. I had 2 beers. That was an hour ago, pal." And then they use that like you did something wrong. It's like, hey, it's America. Human beings have drunk alcohol for forever. I'm not evil.
And there are receptors in our brain that show we were designed to drink alcohol. Your brain has receptors for marijuana. I mean, it's not like our history has not evolved into the situation.
I'll tell you what, stay there, Jamie. Let's do 5 more minutes. DWIDude.com. Check it out. Okay, we're talking to our guest. He's the DWIDude.com. Finishing up, sir, a former Austin police officer, Jamie.
Yes.
Just in the 4 minutes we have left in this little addendum, what else would you want to tell people about when you get pulled over?
All right, so knowing that they're going to look at anything you do and try to bring it into the courtroom or into the probable cause affidavit to get your blood as criminal activity or evidence of intoxication. They'll say that your speech is slurred, so don't say much. Unless you know your speech is not slurred and there's a video, it's all right to talk a little bit, just so later we can come into court and show that your speech was not slurred. Do not take the field sobriety test. When they do this, the HGN, here goes nothing test, it is absolute junk science. Do not let them have that. If they do HGN and they find 4 or more clues, you're going to jail no matter what else you do. Don't take the walk and turn test. They don't tell you what will make you fail. They don't tell you what they're looking for, so you don't even know that you're screwing up. Don't take the one-leg stand. Even on a no-refusal weekend, or if it's 24/7, that does not mean you cannot refuse the field sobriety test. It does, and also you can still refuse the breath test. They'll just take your license away unless we can win it back at a hearing. If we have the hearing at DPS, we get the officers under oath and we get to paint them into a corner so they don't come into court later and start making up evidence. So don't take the breath test unless you know you are going to pass. I tell people this all the time. If you go out drinking and you leave in a bar, leave in a restaurant, or leave in a friend's house, whatever, anticipate the police are going to stop you and do a DWI investigation. If you still want to drive, go for it. Just save my number to your cell phone so you can call me from the pokey, because that's probably where you're going. If they ask you, look, if you don't take the breath test, we're going to get a blood warrant, so why don't you consent? Do not consent. That's not voluntary consent. Say no. You could waive your rights. So don't waive your rights.
Well, that's right. This blood draw is a physical assault, and if you can prove that they didn't get probable cause or that the warrant's a fraud, I think people should just sue them if they have the money just to punish them with time and energy. I mean, there are ways to beat them, aren't there?
The ways to beat the blood draw is they're doing the blood draws incorrectly. I would have to go into this for probably 30 minutes with you, Alex. I went to Axion Labs up in Chicago. It's the #1 lab in America on the gas chromatography and the mass spectrometry and the issues of blood draws. I can change one little number on the keyboard and double your alcohol reading. If they don't.
And by the way, if they'll violate the Bill of Rights, Constitution, lie on the stand, set you up. Well, I mean, how many police labs have been caught defrauding people with the evidence labs at an industrial level? The FBI crime lab, the Dallas crime lab, the Houston crime lab. Every major city's been caught.
The DPS crime lab in Austin won't release to us the blood discovery we request. They fight us tooth and nail. If what you're doing is true and correct and honest, you'd show it to anybody. If I was running the books for a nonprofit organization and you came to me and said, we want to look at the books, Jamie, and I said no, and I fought you in court, there's only one reason. I'm cheating. I'm a liar.
Yeah, I've actually sent people to prison for violations of nonprofits. The head of Access TV, and that's what happened. They fought us. We knew something was there, and we got them. All right, well, I'm very impressed, Jamie. Thank you. Jamie Balagia was our guest here today, DWIDude.com. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And, hey, let's get you up here in studio very soon. Thank you very much.
We're counting on you, Alex.
All right, buddy. Thank you.